let's go ahead and get started. Are we on?
Yes.
Live from the Kensington Library. It's the October 25th, 2023 meeting of the Kensington Municipal Advisory Council. My name is Lloyd Cowell. I am the chair currently of the board. Welcome everybody. To my right is Chris Bryden. To my left, Adam Norris. My extreme left is Ruel Cook. So before we start into the projects, which are the main items on the agenda tonight, we'll ask if there are any citizens' comments that are not related to a specific project. Anybody want to talk about anything in particular? Seeing and hearing none. I will say I did speak to the Kensington Improvement Club on this past Saturday morning for a few minutes. As a result of that, I was able to connect with a couple of people who might make it possible for us to have future meetings in the community center that's on the other side of the park here, which does have internet connection and overhead projector and is better suited for seating and has a lot more space. So I'll keep everyone posted about that going forward. I don't know if it's going to be possible to meet there in November, and we don't meet in December, so possibly the 1st of January would be the first time that we would be able to take advantage of that. The other thing that I'm not going to do is I'm not going to read, which sort of has been the tradition, the general plan policies for the Kensington area and the zoning variance requirements. This document, which I'm holding here, was posted on Supervisor Joya's website along with the agenda. And so if you have any specific questions about what the language says, I would refer you to that particular spot, and hopefully all of your questions will be answered. Now, the next thing is to review and approve the meeting notes from September 27th of 2023. There are printed copies available for those in attendance. You don't have access to it. However, these draft minutes were posted along with the agenda on Supervisor Joya's website and are available for public review in the days leading up to the meeting tonight. So, does anybody have questions or comments on the board about the meeting minutes from last month? There is one item where it says approval of meeting notes from April and of June approved unanimously, and I haven't put that down. And usually, if someone makes a motion and second and all that, I make a note of it. But the video and audio of the meeting was not great, and I didn't take notes, and I apologize for my subpar performance in that regard. However, the vote was unanimous. I'm pretty sure of that, and we were joined now by Ben Berry, who's our last person that we're expecting to attend tonight. How's it going? We're just talking about the meeting minutes. Have you had a chance to review those? I did mail them out to everybody. Yeah. Email them. Okay. Great. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the meeting minutes from September 27, 2023.
I'll second. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed?
Abstain because I was.
Okay. All right, so that's a vote of 4-0. The meeting minutes are approved. Very exciting stuff. Okay. All right, so the first project on tonight's agenda, we have 5 in total to get through. We did this last month and it took about 2 hours, and that's about long enough for any meeting. So what we'll do is ask the person whose project it is or their representative to present an executive summary of what the project is. The board will have a chance to ask questions Then we will open it up to the public and anyone can ask questions. Following that, the meeting will be closed. We're not going anywhere, but the discussion will then be held among the board members and then we'll take a vote. So first up is 30 Kingston Road, and that's 23-03021. The applicant seeks approval of a development plan for a proposed 875 square foot split level addition to an existing family residence. The addition results in a gross floor area of 3,481.69 square feet, which exceeds the maximum gross floor area of 2,800 square feet threshold. So 30 Kingston Road. Come forward and be recognized.
Where do we go to present? Up here?
More like this fine. Yeah, it's if you're up here, then it's a much better chance of the audio picking up. These meetings are taped and are available on Supervisor Jordan's YouTube channel.
That sounds exciting.
It is. Technology, we have not ignored the technology.
It's quite exciting.
So.
With that, do we take it away?
Take it away.
All right.
I should like you.
I don't know. Okay, my name's Larissa Meisenheimer. This is Carlos Cabrera, my husband. We're the homeowners at 30 Kingston Road, and we're here with our designer, Alex Soto. I thought I might first go into a little bit about our reasons for the remodel, and then a little bit about efforts to accommodate neighbors, and then I'll turn it over to Alex to talk about the technical stuff.
Okay.
Does that work?
I believe that all of your reasons for doing the project are legitimate. However, I mean, if you want, go ahead, but if you wanted to skip ahead to talking about the neighbors and talking about what the project actually is,
That's great. In terms of the project, so not the reasons for the different thing. All right. Okay, so the project we have right now, we live in a sort of a split level house. It's very typical in our part of Kensington where it's, half a level, half a level, half a level. And what we're looking at doing is popping up on, so we basically have two split sides. Our house is about 1,800 square feet. And as our family has grown and we both work from home, it's just not working the way it used to. And so what we're trying to do is add a primary bedroom and bathroom and closet, as well as an office. And I'll get into the situations with neighbors and maybe circle back. It's helpful to understand. And again, I know the standards are a little bit fuzzy, but sometimes understanding whether why we're doing it, whether it's reasonable, I know can play into the decisions you all make. So with that, when we started thinking about this project, it was a couple of years ago, and we talked to our uphill neighbors at the time to see if they had a view, and they said they didn't. And we're like, great, that's fantastic. That makes this so much easier. But it took us a little while to get going, to think about, do we want to do this? For me to save up money for it, all of those things. And so by the time we actually got a permit submitted, we had different neighbors next door. And so our permit was submitted in March, and then in April, a notice went out to all of our neighbors from the county. Shortly thereafter, we did get an email from the uphill neighbors saying we were going to block their view. So at that point, we were like, oh no, like that certainly wasn't the intent here. And so we invited them over to our house. And they talked us through what we learned through all of it is they have one upstairs, it's a guest room / part-time office, and there's a corner window that has, there's a part of it that you can see the bay. And so we met with them and they communicated to us where they thought we needed to move the remodel back to. We met with Alex and we undertook a complete redesign that Alex will show you to try to back the whole remodel back to where they had asked, he thought. We took the revised plans over to our neighbors and we met with them. And at that meeting, there was a little bit of a miscommunication, unfortunately, where we came in and we thought we said, okay, we've got this great compromise, we can live with it. If it works for you, we'll move forward with it. And if it doesn't, let us know. So we waited a little bit of time after that meeting and went forward with the plan when we didn't hear from them. Unfortunately, I think what they took away from the meeting is that they didn't understand we were gonna move forward. So, fast forward a month, we got a letter from the county saying that they had lodged an objection. And we were like, oh man, again, surprised, didn't expect it. But we reached out to them and said, okay, what can we do? Like, we've lived in this neighborhood for 13 years. It matters to us to work things out in an amicable way. And so what they said is they wanted story polls, just to see what would happen. And at that point, we put up story polls at our expense. And then we set a time for us all to go and look out the window to see what was going on. Somebody from the county came as well and took pictures. And it was a productive meeting. We looked at sort of where their view was. We looked at where the story polls were. They were having a little trouble envisioning, understandably, how many feet back would really help. So Carlos actually got a tape measure and got up on the roof, and sort of did 1 foot back, 2 foot back, 3 feet back. And our neighbors thought about it overnight, and they decided that another 2.5 feet back would be enough. That would resolve the issue. That was a little bit problematic from a design point of view, which Alex, I think, will show you. But we did move the remodel back that 2.5 feet. And once we did that, they submitted a letter of support. So I think it is resolved. I think we're in good shape on that front. When it comes to other neighbors, we have notified some of our other neighbors as well. Those have been, oh, great, that sounds lovely. Nobody has expressed any concern. And when the notice went out in April, we didn't hear from anybody else. And when we had the story pulled up for a month, we didn't hear from anybody else. So as far as we know, we've sort of gone, they're pretty great to accommodate the one objection we knew about, and we're not aware of any others.
Yeah, I think I would say at this point, that I know that Ben distributed notices.
I didn't notice this.
Because maybe it was withdrawn before that. Right, so I distributed notices in anticipation of tonight's meeting, and that was last week. Those were all personally dropped on front porches and that sort of thing. So anyway, we have notified independently of your effort and the county's efforts. KMAC has also printed and distributed notices. Is anybody here to talk about them? Okay, so please proceed.
Yeah, and again, it just, like, we lived in this neighborhood for 13 years. Like, we've never had a bad interaction with a neighbor. It was very important to us to try to figure out a way through this that worked for everybody. So hopefully we're there. And then I don't know if you guys need any more information from us about sort of the goals of the remodel, the reasonability of it, sort of how it fits into the neighborhood. Great.
You've given us plenty of information for us to consider.
With that, I will turn it over to Alex on the technical stuff.
Okay.
I'm Alex Soto. I'm with Exformer Design. I'm one of the designers and partners. And I've been working alongside Larissa and Carlos here for over a year now on this project. And with the goal of this being their forever home, we just wanted to make sure that it was meeting their goals, but also not upsetting anybody in the neighborhood, and also complying with all of the mandatory requirements set out by the county and by KMAC. So with that said, our goal was definitely to try to stay within the style and the height, the massing of the neighborhood. So we try to stay with the same character, using some of the same geometry, and that we have sort of below in the living room bay window, carry that up to the upstairs addition. And the addition is very common in this neighborhood, where they have this pop-up addition actually on both sides of each property line. So both neighbors have done similar to this. And when we started with this is we present here. This here is our current 875 square foot addition. So the goal was try to keep a master bedroom that was light, felt like it had nice connection to the outside. Larissa works long out from home, so we want to give her a nice office. And we originally started with, we'll just jump into, this is the 3D massing of our current layout. So the idea is the two views here at the bottom are the existing 3D views. So the idea is to take off the roof over the living room, over the kitchen, and then do the pop-up over that area there, so that you can see here that our pop-up comes up here. Trying to keep some of the same character that we have already below in the living room, sort of bay configuration upstairs. And the idea is to just make it as bright and open as possible, but also not to look directly into some of the neighbors. So we're very mindful of where the adjacent neighbors have windows looking directly into our property, not trying to cause any cross line issues. So even like to the level that the bathroom windows, we will make frosted, we make sure that they weren't looking directly over to the neighbor on the right side. So we taken all those elements into consideration when designing this. And this slide here shows a little bit of the history that we've gone through over the last year of sort of the iterations and where we started with and where we're at right now. So I'll jump to the top plan here. This was our original design that we had. It was a little bit more modest in terms of the office space, the master and the bathroom. We always wanted to keep a nice primary size for the master bedroom, but at this point here, we had the balcony facing, this would be true west in this case. And the area that I've highlighted in red is basically what we end up pushing back once we heard that the neighbors were, but they had a concern that we'd be blocking their view. So we took that into consideration right away and came up with this alternate design with this revised edition, where then we replaced that highlighted area with a front balcony just to give them a better sight line. With that being done, it pushed our design towards the rear yard. So we started looking at expanding the office a little bit with balancing out with the rear deck. And then there was another meeting then that was described with the neighbors that they agreed to send the addition back an additional 2.5 feet. So this last red line here on the far right is where we ended up at once we agreed with them. Subsequently, it really messed with our stair design and trying to get up to the right risers, right floor height. So we had to do a little bit of a switchback stair. With that being done, it pushed some elements further to the right in the plan. So we looked at this. We are also an engineering company, so we have structural engineers in-house. So we looked at this with our engineers, just trying to make sure that we weren't causing any issues down the road. And by looking at it, we just made a couple adjustments by bumping out this wall all the way far out to align with the wall below, just not to add additional beams, add to the construction budget. So that's why the bathroom and closet have grown in size too. That wasn't the original goal. It's just it helps with our engineering and construction down the road. So that's why that's grown there. And the rest of here are just enlarged plans of those 3 iterations that or the 2 iterations that we went through to get to our current and final iteration here.
Okay. Does anybody have questions for our presenter?
The only one just the gross floor area, I'm assuming some of that is taken up by the pergola, right?
I thought that that number was.
So
So
we sent you like 3 ones, which might be part of the confusion. I think the final one, it doesn't include the pergola, but what it does include is there's a big garage and then an unfinished workroom that are showing in that, but that aren't really sort of part of the livable square footage of the home.
The footprint doesn't look to be changing altogether that much.
Yeah,
The footprint is staying the same.
Yeah,
We're popping straight up above that, yeah. We're all within the footprint.
and I think the final square footage of the house, which doesn't show up on that, it's like 2670.
Okay, thank you.
cool. Right. All right, anyone in the public here talk about 3rd Kingston? There are none. All right, so we're gonna close public comments. What do you think?
It looks great.
No, I haven't,
Yeah, I think thank you for taking time into consideration and making adjustments to accommodate your neighbors. I know it's hard, but it takes some time, but you did a really great job.
Thank you, appreciate it. I feel
I
like
think
it's,
it's a very thoughtful approach to how you proceeded with the design changes.
yeah, thank you. I figured this will be a much better, next, couple decades living next to them.
all right,
Thank you for your consideration.
no problem, do I hear a motion?
I would make a motion to recommend approval of 23-03021 30 Kingston Road.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We voted to recommend approval, we don't approve, we recommend approval, and this will go back to the county. And you will be notified of next steps from them, and Robert and I coordinate with the planner that's specifically assigned to your case. There you go.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Thank you for your time.
All right, moving on, recalling 40 Anson Way, for followers of the channel, we heard this one, for a period of time, last month's meeting, and we're back. There are story polls in place, KMAC official, president, four of us were able to do that was on Sunday morning, pictures were around, and now we are back. So, I don't know that you may, I don't know how necessary it is to reinvent the one postulates for a few minutes. I absolutely welcome you. But I think everyone is pretty much clear on what
Yeah, I don't.
I gotta mute Carl and Shona. I think the audio is good.
Yeah, I don't think we have much new to say since last time. We hope that the story polls gave our neighbors some peace of mind. We did, try to do our best to accommodate it while moving the goals of the project. And yeah, I think Carrie's gonna just share. I know that the Kensington site visit was on a very foggy, rainy day, and it might have been hard to get a good sense of really what the impact is. So we do have the pictures that were taken the prior day by the county representative, and so we wanted to just share those.
is that what we're looking at
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
So,
And I know that as part of the site visit, we went to 36 Anson Way, which is the next door neighbor immediately to the north, and then 3 homes across the street. That's the east side and above. We had the opportunity to sort of get a look, take photos, and so on. Does anybody on the board have any questions about 40 Anson Way? All right, so then we would invite public comment. I know we have people interested who are here. Chris, are you going to talk with him or?
I don't do it well either, but all I would just like to say is thank you guys for coming out. It was raining that day. And I'd just like to reiterate that I'm not trying to prevent anyone from spending their home or anything like that. And to think that considering also what I have on the other side, for you, I already looked at one wall. I wouldn't want to have to look at another wall, and I'm just looking at 2 walls that was around the home. And I think that, with some redesign, perhaps we could do something that, everyone can pick on. Because as it stands, I just be looking at, like the side of the wall, where I wouldn't want.
Let me ask you a quick question. If you had, all the power and could say how the project would look, do you have anything specific that you would want to be considered other than the fact that you just don't want the blank wall that's right there off of the south end of the top?
You said, how would I want their?
What would be your suggestion?
I think if it were lower, maybe it would go out like towards their backyard, which is, I guess, towards the day, which is like south, and not to go thick and high. It's just so large and it's so close to the eye. If it were lower or on the other side of the house, maybe not so big.
Okay, and as far as you know, the southern border of your house is not over, like the setback. Is that-
Her house is not, no, and they're proposing.
Yeah, I knew that, but that was a question I forgot to ask you when we stopped by on Sunday, so. It's important to know.
No, that's what I'm hearing. No, nobody's encroaching in the setbacks. But, yeah, I mean, I think based on what we just heard from the case record for us, you know, we were hoping for something a little bit more collaborative. You know, definitely the proximity of that wall right outside of her dining room, you know, very disturbing. And it's blank, and yeah, you know, there's privacy concerns there too, so trying to balance that, but if that addition were on the other side of the property, maybe in the middle of the house, on their southern side or something like that. You know, again, if it were lower, you know, and I realize there's physical constraints to that, but it sure would be nice to have, you know, a little bit more input, a little bit more giving back. We do appreciate the story always, I think it's very helpful. I'm not sure it helps alleviate any of the concerns. In fact, it might have pushed it the other direction, but at least now we know what we're dealing with, and you know, we'll understand this time and hassle and money involved. So
And we can be confident that the story holes accurately reflect the proposed project. Actually, they were certified to make sure that that was the case. So,
appreciate it.
is there anybody else here to talk about 40 years in way?
Yeah, James Waller representing Charles Valley Williams. Actually, a little bit more aggressive tone on behalf of them. In fact, we believe that whole actions this far, and it actually is really kind of freelancing here, but the case prior really speaks to what he was mentioning. It was much more team oriented atmosphere, much more team approach and thinking long-term impacts. This is not the case here. In fact, words like arrogance and behavior and design and apathy between the impact of the neighbors. In the first, a month ago, it was mentioned that this was a plan for 10 years, and this is the design that came up. I actually really appreciate Chris and Adam's point of view, was that there are thousands of designs, right? Why is it this one that is moving forward with? Something that was really appalling, and I spoke with Williams about this, was that one of the applicants mentioned that he surreptitiously was observing the northern neighbor, which I found disgusting, and actually then I had to rewatch the video just to make sure I got it right. But I shared said it's time lapses of when she opens and closes her window shades. Thank you, Lloyd, for shutting that down real quick, saying that's irrelevant. But it just goes to show that the arrogance behind the action. And so as the current design, if you were to look at the second story or the third level, was having the western and eastern facing windows, that robs the privacy of 39. Unfortunately, the folks directly west of my ship as part of Kensington, they're lower level. And so then there are windows on the western side would be facing directly in those folks' houses. And so on record, one of the applicants publicly admitted this fine. And
First, I disagree, but I understand your objection.
well, it's not just mine. It's I'm the just raising the concern of the owners. And you're right, maybe I get aggressive with language there, but the truth is, like, if you're willing to do that, what else are you willing to have a higher vantage point? So that was really something that I wanted to ensure that was called out on record. And lastly, it's really just, as Chris has illustrated, they already have a large lot. They already have ample space to go backwards. They already have a view. So why do you want more? And what was not represented in the plans was the impacts to the northern neighbor or northeastern neighbor, the western and the southwestern, eastern and southeastern. And so thank you for coming out on Sunday, checking those all out, seeing all the impacts to the bill. And whichever way this goes, I just wanted to ensure that it was called out about the surreptitiously observing somebody's behaviors.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Bob. That's yeah, but super briefly, and let's not get personal.
No, I don't want to get personal. I just I didn't think I needed to repeat the kind of process and our efforts to be collaborative. We did go to the home of the 36 and back in January and tried to have a collaborative discussion, and that was not unfortunately welcomed. We did speak to the owners of the home that this gentleman lives in, and they told us they weren't opposed, and that's why he didn't live there at the time. That's why we didn't have a further discussion with them. They still tell us they're not opposed, so there's some sort of miscommunication going on. But that's just, I just wanted to respond to that particular accusation. Yeah.
Can I just please comment on that last part?
Um,
Back in January, when this meeting did arrive, there's a mistake there. At that meeting, there were no plans that we can today. So it's hard to have a discussion this, about plans and things when I'm not gonna say agree to anything or disagree to anything. So they might feel that discussion meant one way, but at the time, there were no plans to discuss and for me to get a good idea until I received a letter from the county in the mail that had the plans.
I understand, and in fact, viewpoints change over time, and story polls make things a little more real, and people who may have said one thing or another at one time may change their minds, and I'm not specifically referring to anybody changing their minds here. I'm just saying that that's just human nature. Does anybody else have anything they want to share with 40 answers? All right, so we'll call a close to public comment and open it for internal board discussion. I think this is an issue of not just view but bulk. I think that the neighbor 36 Answay has expressed concern on that basis, and not just because there might be an impact to the view to the south end or southwest or whatever that direction is. So anybody have thoughts, ideas, questions?
I'll start. Yeah, I genuinely appreciate the story polls. I think they help. I think to your point, there are two things really both can do. I think from my standpoint, I wasn't so concerned about the view from across the street. I think, what it was blocking was downtown El Cerrito, some of that, but I did feel that from 36 that it was blocking what was, we live, I say this, we live in a great DuPont neighborhood. There's no question. I can pass muster from my kitchen to my neighbors. I see them all the time. Don't even have curtains, and I see them every morning and say good morning. But then again, my house has been there for 100 years, and so is theirs. But I think when you have open space like that, that was the challenge for me. Is I do think when you walked into that house, you walk in the door and you look through the living room, you were looking through big pane of glass, and you were looking at what is otherwise open space, open air, open trees towards the cemetery, towards Oakland, and that would go away. It would change the character of the house and the purpose of it. So I think for me, I thought the bulk of that in the view area was too much from 36. That's where I had my challenge with the view and the bulk. From the street itself, it's kind of in contact with whatever else was saying.
Yeah, it seems to match the roof lines of other properties on the
Across the
street.
Yep.
An insight that I got from visiting 36 was that the similar sort of process had been imposed from the neighbor to the north of 36, and so this is not the first time that that property has been affected by somebody else's project proposal. What say you guys? What do you think?
I did also think that, again, but typically when we've done this, it's the question is, could you do something else? And I did feel that the way that the lot was laid out, I thought there were some ways you could potentially change the design. May not ultimately be what people want, but I think there are ways you could change the design that would accommodate the space that was required without necessarily impacting 36 inches. Many times we go through things because it's just, there's no room left, it's an odd lot, it's, something, when you think of making an exception, it's usually something unique. I didn't think the character of the lot or the property itself, the way it was positioned, didn't allow for other options.
So I agree with Lloyd on the views from across the street. I don't think that it's blocking anything that's critical. I differ a little bit with Lloyd on the, sorry, with Chris on the other comment. It was a challenge actually, because I think as you look through the dining room window, it's absolutely blocking a view. And if, I didn't get the same bulk because I don't think it's a big house, like they're not building a big house. It's not like probably what you're talking about.
I meant bulk by just the bulk of the addition,
Right.
not the house. No, I don't think they're building anything out of character for the neighborhood. I just meant what would the bulk in the view, I guess if that's the way you'd say it, right? What would be there?
Right,
And even, I mean, there's an effort to maybe protect privacy by having that just be blank without windows and. Almost worse. It's almost worse. Oh, that was mine.
but
It's probably, I mean, I'd almost want to see lights and a
Yeah.
deck or something that, you know,
Yeah.
but that's neither here nor there.
so I think if that were the primary view of the house, I would be against the project.
Yeah.
But it's not the primary view of the house. The house has a beautiful view across the bay. It's like a kill for that view. So
Or pay $100,000 for your house.
yeah, but so I think in the grand scheme of things, I do find it reasonable. It's in character with the rest of the house. It's not the biggest house on that street by any means. It's one of the smaller ones still. And you know, while there is absolutely an impact in line with what we've done in the past, this was a compromise. They did back off an original design. They did shrink it. And it's gonna have an impact on the neighbor for sure. I'm not saying it's not, but in the past, we've approved projects that were a little more 50-50, you know, losing some of the original project, losing some of the view of someone else. So in line with what we've gone in the past in favor of the project.
I was not here last month, so I was unable to attend
Oh,
the presentation, so I'm going to abstain from comments on this.
that's
And
fine.
I was unable to attend the walkthrough because I had to work, so I
That's not a problem, you know.
don't have enough
Whatever you're
information
most-
to feel comfortable.
Whatever you're most comfortable with. So, what do you think, Ben?
I can't add any additional commentary. I can't add anything more to what already been said. I think basically Adam put it perfectly correct. So.
Well, we should, and I guess, yeah, we should, while we're here, might as well. So the question is, what's the original motion?
Well, again, I think we probably split it a little bit, but I think that's okay. It sounds like you guys are leaning towards recommending approval.
I was going home last month, but I gotta tell you now, I'm just, looking out the dining room window at what is proposed to be a basically a blank wall. Frankly, is concerning to me. The fact that there is more room to work with, in terms of where it is on the back of the house, and the fact that the backyard does extend for a ways. I'm not good, passing judgment on this, just noting that in comparison with other projects that we've been asked to review in the past, this particular proposal seems to have other options available. And I wonder if it might not be more productive to iterate again, but again, we only make recommendations, we don't approve it tonight. So I'm going to make a motion and vote your conscience, and then we'll see where we are. I'm going to move to approve the 40 Anson Way project as written. That's 23-03024. To approve a 993 square foot 2-story addition to an existing home, including a new deck and change of porch stairs. Does anybody care to second? Second. What do we do now? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That means that we are recommending approval based on a 3-to-1 vote for this project. The the county, is the next step. And if, parties are opposed to, our decision, obviously, you should contact your planner right away and, make sure that that's known. The KMAC's recommendations are not conclusive, and they not carry the force or weight of law. And so, there are opportunities to be heard. I think that you can appeal all the way up to the county board of supervisors.
I believe it's the planner and then the zoning administrator and then the board.
Many levels of appeal, to be pursued. So, that's that. Thank you very much for coming. Good luck to everybody. It's still not too late, to change your mind or make alterations. The answers are not always obvious to us. And, you know, I apologize for anybody who's objects to our decision. All right, next calling, 23-03029. The address is.
You bet. Didn't meet you. It's not- Yeah, yeah.
Okay. 11 Yale, the applicant seeks approval of a development plan from Kensington Design Review for a 312 square foot addition to the third story. If that's even accurate, I've got an email about this before. Include the variance request to allow an expansion of the third story where 2 and a half stories is the maximum. The 15 results in a gross floor area of 2,966, exceeding the threshold of 2,500 square feet.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us. I'm Kevin. This is Alexia Maria, our architect. And we're excited to share our plans here today. We're looking to expand into our attic. We're really looking to minimize the amount of external changes that we're making to our house. We're looking to add an additional bedroom on the second floor of our house to accommodate our growing family. Our baby boy is due any day or week here. And so really trying to get all of the kids on the same floor, and Lexi and I both work from home. And so want to accommodate a bunch of different activities that take place in our house.
Okay, now I understand that this is basically finishing off an attic space, and then I was told outside of the meeting that this was basically not going to change the outside envelope of the house. Is that correct?
That's right. We're proposing to add a dormer, a shed dormer to the front of the house, to just help create a little bit more space in that bedroom, since it does have, you know, sloping ceilings and it is an attic space. But that dormer would not increase the height. It's not going to block anyone's views. It faces the street and thus the view towards the ocean. And so thus far we haven't heard any, you know, concerns. They've talked to a lot of the neighbors. There's really not a lot of impact there. Basically we're here because technically this is considered a third story. It already exists. There is a third story, which feels like a second story, because basically the first story is the garage, which comes under. And therefore we're here for the variance as well as the gross square footage.
Fantastic. Anybody have questions about the present? Is there anybody? There was a couple here. For 211 Yale? Yeah. You wanted to speak for?
Yeah, we live just behind you. And we cannot see any change.
Right.
So I think, you know, I don't know what kind of magic you made, but one question is that I think you already gave me the answer of that. You know, one change is appearance of the window to the front, means to the west.
Yes,
On the east side, so.
You live behind the house, uphill?
to the right, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so the only exterior changes are a dormer window, which increases the volume a little bit, facing the street, and then there's a.
We cannot see it.
Right, we will not see it. Yeah, I mean, that's the magic, we add a bedroom and a bathroom without changing the outside, that's, you know, what we do, but. There is one small window in the bedroom as well that will face the side yard, which would be the south side. Correct.
Not towards you.
On a wall that exists currently, blank wall, have a small window there.
The document didn't include the east other side, you know, so.
Right, yeah, if you're on the east, you won't see any of it.
And that window looks into a tree right now of ours, so,
Okay,
great,
all right.
thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll speak to on your other thing. So, I'm just next to them going south. So,
Oh, nice.
no challenge, I think it looks great, it fits with the neighborhood, you know, the challenge will be the variance, but I think we can speak to that. But yeah,
Yeah.
great job using the space shack, it's not changing the envelope, it puts a dormer on the front. You can apply it to it, so great use. I wouldn't challenge it.
I think-
All Maria, she's amazing.
Well, I think that the orientation is designed to keep people from.
Yeah.
Building up a story, not dealing with existing.
You know, we, in the past, we've been able to get past it because it's an existing.
I believe Rosalind Cole, did you have something you'd like to say?
I was just gonna say, I'm the other neighbor up the hill, so I think we have the 3 in a row along Stanford at this meeting. Also here in support of this project, it seems very reasonable.
All right.
Thanks, Rosalind.
So I hear a motion.
I would make a motion to recommend approval of 23-03029-211 Yale and add the stipulation that it meets the requirements for variance.
Right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good luck. All right, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
So, at the, while we change, we're gonna call.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Calusa. As so at the meeting and this guy comes up, this Kensington People Club, in fact, it's up and he says that he had put, like a ADU or what would be considered an ADU over his garage in his house, and that when he had KMAC review that, many years ago, they recommended approval, that's before my time, but added stipulation that he was never allowed to rent it out. And he wanted to know, is that on my deed? Is it a restricted covenant that, you know, runs with the land, as they say, and I told him to get somebody to look at it. Considered the county. We don't work with that.
He's probably.
I think that's, so others.
Well, there was pro housing quite back then, but it's still, it's like this. You never.
Can't have parties.
You know,
No parties.
well,
You cannot have fun.
yeah,
Yes, I do.
remember the
Very gone.
Okay, so calling 418 Calusa, this is 23-03031. The applicant seeks approval of the development plan for the construction of an elevator addition within the existing residence. That results in a gross floor area of 2,692 square feet, which exceeds the 23 square foot threshold. So take it away, and are you planning to add a apartment?
Probably not.
Just check.
We're just putting an elevator in so I can stay in the house with this 3 levels.
That's
Just
fine.
to connect eliminate the need to go from downstairs.
Yeah, so it's, as it says. We're actually adding about 19 square feet. Half of that is in the crawl space underneath the middle level, and half of that is out onto the roof. It does not, as you can see in the drawings, it does not raise the roof height whatsoever. I will, I'm the applicant for Jenny. I'm also her immediate neighbor to the south, and it's out my kitchen window that I will see the extension of the house onto the roof. It changes my view of the corner market a little bit, but so we, yeah,
So it looks like the house, and was basically over the limit before the statute came into effect, but now you have to go through the review process. Plus 19 feet, after the thing is that you're not changing the way the house looks from the street or.
Correct, and technically, we're expanding the out into the roof area. You know, the roof will expand slightly, but the rest of the addition is it's all within the perimeter walls of the building. And it's shown in the plans, which I think I saw somebody had a copy of.
Anybody here to talk about the 418 blues and not cut you off? You have plenty of time. But anybody? Okay, no. We'll close it to public comment. Any comments or discussion, board members? No? No? All right, everybody hear a motion?
Make a motion to recommend approval of 23-03031418 Carissa.
Okay, I'll second that motion. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you for your time. We'll pass it along to the planner and we'll recommend approval and we'll go do it. Thank you. Thanks very much.
So you have a.
Great.
Well, we want to give everyone the opportunity to be heard.
Yes, yes.
I've been in the house for 50 years and I hope to be for at least another 20.
There you go.
They give you like a little gold pen. 50-year debits, you ready?
Yes. Thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Be well.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll hold on the last item on the agenda, which is 154 Lawson. 23-03026. The applicant seeks approval of development plan in Kensington design and replacement of an existing deck with a new approximately 616 square foot wood deck, of which a portion will be covered by the existing main level balcony with a gross floor area that exceeds the threshold. We did receive some communication from the county within the last couple of days about some changes that were made. So if you could talk to us about that. And then I don't think it's going to affect our consideration.
Okay, you should have screen sharing. Sorry.
It's just if there's even the hint that the neighbors might object, they do have an opportunity to be and receive notice and to be heard prior to the board's making a decision. But I think that the changes would be minor enough that we should be able to proceed.
Great.
Thank you. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, printouts. Excellent. So thank you. My name is Varun Solikhan. This is Jennifer for the Life, and the two bosses are back there, Maureen and Ronan. This is the landscaping updating project, and part of the landscaping is adding a new deck. Our house was built in 1960 at the end of a cul-de-sac, and it's one of the larger homes that was built in 1960. So I think we were doomed before we got started in terms of the gross area of the house and all of those sorts of things. But what we're looking at doing is essentially replacing the old deck that was at the very lower level. It'll be a newer deck and a bit bigger. But the improvements are all, ground level. I'm not sure any of our neighbors can see into any of the elements of the yard. We've got this like thick bamboo forest that kind of blocked off all the views. The change, I think, that the county flagged was we were looking at increasing the landing on a side stair that goes down, just so there was more room to transition from the concrete patio area down to the stairs. Right now, it's a really narrow kind of opening. And then the other thing is on one of the plans, there's an existing structure that's located in the corner of the yard that's inside kind of the offset area already. So that's going to be torn down. And then any of the overages that we have and the new improvements, I think is on the order of like half of whatever that existing structure was. So at the end of the day, we've eliminated 50% of an existing disturbance within that rear yard offset area.
All right. Yeah. And the kids object.
Well, we have a good relationship with our neighbors, so.
All right, so we'll close the meeting to public comment and internal discussion.
Yeah, no issues. The only question is usually there's a. The county's got a date stamp or got, are they arguing over the plans? Do we have to make any comment?
I think the plans were unchanged.
Okay.
It was just,
the recalculation.
yeah,
So we
They
just
wanted
approve the
like
ones that are-
another cross section.
I think we just approve it as it was, that, I mean.
I think
usually
that's
they want
fine.
us to have something date stamped, so as long as we approve it as is, it should be fine.
Yeah, the county asked for 2 additional cross sections to show what the landscaping was gonna be on either side of the house, and so we sent that in. None of that has to do with the deck, which I think is what was in question. It was a small little sliver, I think it was like 8 square inches or something like that, that was kind of in that.
Yeah, I was
office
only
area.
asking just so you don't get bumped back.
It wouldn't, yeah.
Wouldn't be.
It is what it is, yeah, so,
So
yeah,
I
no,
think they'll pass our snap. They're still gonna have to deal with the county if they deal with the county.
And this is this the date or?
That's kind of what I'm nervous for, right?
Or I got the.
The only reason I call it out is just because of,
No, I haven't done it yet for any of,
I know, the only reason I paid is because they simply know it's been completeness, right? Just so they're not in trouble.
okay,
This might be.
no, I agree completely and, I regret having neglected the date stamp issue.
I think it's okay because they're, yeah, we're good.
Okay. Well, Chris, then, how about,
All right, let's make a run of it then. All right, I would say, I'd make a motion to recommend approval of 23-03026154 Lawson Road, date stamp 8/18/23.
okay,
I'll second.
excellent. Everyone's in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then the motion passes and we recommend approval, and then if there's, I think we might be able to work out any questions that parents have in correspondence with respect to the board's actions, so don't worry about that.
Yeah.
We'll hear that way, and then something you have to do. So,
okay, great,
great, thank you very much.
thank you much.
Thank you.
Looks like you.
Technology beat me this time, I wasn't there, sure.
It allowed us to focus on you.
Yeah.
To make the most important recommendation. Anyway, there's nothing else for us.
The motion to adjourn? Excellent.
Oh, my God, right on.
At 7:59.
Look at that.
There we go. Second. Oh, there you go.
All in favor? Thank you all for coming.
Good
We
job.
are adjourned. Awesome.
Thank you, guys.